Yes. So, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, first of all. But man, this Leo Atang guy, I just watched him and I wasn't impressed by what I saw. I've been hearing about this guy for a while. He's clearly getting the promotional push. They've been trying to kind of, I'm not going to call him an industry plan because I don't know the dude. He seems like a nice kid. But he does seem like someone the industry is trying to force on the boxing world. And I have to say I'm not impressed so far by what I'm seeing. And I don't think it's unfair to be hard on him, given what we're seeing from Moses Atama. Moses has set the standard. So when guys like Leo Atang or Pat Brown, another kind of British hype job, Richard Riakporhe, even though that nigga's like 37. He's older than me. 37, 36-year-old prospect. But anywho, yeah, I watched this Leo Atang guy to kind of see what he's about. I've seen him fight before, but it was against Uber drivers, Amazon delivery drivers, DoorDash guys, etc. Brought it on a week's notice because us hardcore fans, we know the game, right? But casuals don't get that. They don't understand that these prospects that look invincible are not really all that good, right? They're they're spoon-fed guys who are brought in with 1 week's notice, especially a heavyweight where you don't have to worry about making weight in boxing. In MMA, I think the weight limit's like 265, which is totally reasonable because most of these heavyweights are just fat and lazy and don't run and don't eat healthy and just like, I'll just show up and eat pads, dude. And I'll just do a little sparring, dude. But they don't really live the life because they don't have to make weight like all the other weight divisions. So casuals don't seem to understand that there are guys who are brought in to lose, right? A good example of that would be Delicious Ori. I mean, first of all, it should be a crime to name your son Delicious. I know that's part of Nigerian culture. I did the little ancestry.com thing. A good chunk of my ancestors come from Nigeria. Most of us African Americans have no idea where our ancestors come from. So I claim Nigeria, but that shit is weird, bro. I'm not naming my son Delicious ever. That'll never happen. But anyways, you saw Delicious Ori, who was an Olympian, right? The kind of prospect a promoter would be looking to sign because he's easy to market. He had one fight against a journeyman. And if you go back and watch that fight, yeah, Delicious won the fight, on paper. But if you know anything about boxing, I don't claim to be an expert. I had 2 fights. One of them was a smoker. The other one was gloves at the novice level, right? So I don't know a whole lot, but I know more than 99% of y'all who are too scared to spar someone the same size as you. And when Delicious was having, I hate saying his name, bro. He's gotta fire his parents for that name. When Ori was having his fight with whoever that journeyman was, somewhere for some shithole in Eastern Europe, the guy clearly knew what he was doing. The opponent, that is, the Eastern European guy. He was tucking up. He was blocking. He was catching. He was parrying the shots. He was rolling with the shots. And yeah, he was losing the rounds due to activity, but he wasn't throwing. And it almost looked like when a coach will spar a novice, but the coach really won't do anything. outside of throwing the occasional jab, the occasional right hand, and he'll just kind of work on his defense and make the neophyte boxer look foolish. And that's what happened to Delicious Ori, and I think it almost broke him in a sense. And he said, "This is not for me. I can't even beat up this guy with 10-ounce gloves on. I can't even beat this guy, you know." And while what I saw from Leo Atang wasn't as bad, I wasn't impressed, you know. The industry keeps trotting out these little Anthony Joshua clones, you know. It was Richard Riakporhe. He was supposed to be the next AJ. It was Delicious Ori. He was supposed to be the next AJ. And, you know, now we're seeing Leo Atang. And none of these guys, to me, are impressive. And I said that last week, like Richard Riakporhe, to me, yeah, he won. He stopped Jamie TKV. But it wasn't an impressive stoppage, not even because it was premature, which I agree with. That stoppage was premature. My problem with that fight is that Richard Riakporhe showed poor mobility, showed low IQ, showed a lack of creativity. He just looked stiff. He looked slow. He looked like someone who in the States played gridiron for my British fans, football for my U.S. fans. You know, just a big, strong guy. He's got a little bit of power, a little bit of athleticism, but not anything else. And also, Richard Riakporhe is old as dirt, right? He's 37, the 37-year-old prospect. But he didn't look impressive to me. It was like everybody is sucking him off and trying to convince me that this guy is the next great thing because he stopped Jamie Big Black Boobies TKV, who was scared, and it was very evident by his body language that he was scared and he didn't want to let his hands go. And it's easy to beat a guy who's scared of you. When you know someone's scared of you in the ring, it's very easy to beat them. It's not hard. I promise you, it's not hard when you find somebody who's scared. Jamie TKV was scared of Richard Riakporhe, and Richard was able to take him out, you know. But yeah, all of these AJ clones, they've all been kind of ass. They've all been kind of ass, you know. It demonstrates to me that AJ was like catching lightning in a bottle. I always tell people AJ was a very good champion. I don't think he was a great champion. He could still make the Hall of Fame, especially if he beats Tyson Fury, maybe has another quality win. He only needs one or two more quality wins to make the Hall of Fame with his brand and his name. You know, if he beats Tyson Fury, I think that's enough to put him in the Hall of Fame. But, you know, if you want to say, hey, he needs to beat a Hergovich or he needs to beat a Caballel, I'm not going to argue with you about that. That's fair. That's a fair point to make. But he was good. AJ was actually good. The guy that Leo Atang just fought was brought in on 1 week's notice. He looked like a fat cruiserweight who said, hey, bro, we got 10 grand for you. Come fight this kid. Don't make him look bad. Do your thing, and you'll get paid. And that's what we saw. There was another fight on the card. Some white guy. He was fighting a Mexican. And it was the same situation. But in his case, I think the guy's name was Clark, the white British guy. His name was Clark. He got dropped. and like Barry Jones and what's the guy's name? Not Darren Till. The guy on the zone, his name is Darren. I can't think of his name. He used to be a boxer. But they were just glazing this Clark guy. Like, oh my God, he's showing so much heart and perseverance. And he's showing that he has the grit. Yeah, he's not a big puncher, but... And I'm just looking at the fight, and it's another situation where the big corporate media thinks that we're all stupid and they can just piss on our heads and tell us that it's raining. Like, no, this guy's actually just shit. He has a basic 1-2. He doesn't rotate into his punches, so he has no power. You know, I think a lot of power has to do with speed and an understanding of biomechanics. And a lot of fighters and coaches don't understand biomechanics, and they just teach everybody to throw the same way instead of really studying how a guy is built. And, you know, that's what we saw. The guy was just throwing with speed and no power, not rotating his hips, and getting caught. He was getting caught with shots the whole fight. But again, the propaganda from the DAZN commentary team, the British DAZN commentary team, was trying to make us believe that this guy is a superstar in the making when he sucks. He looks like so many dudes I see in the gym every week, right? Same with this Leo Atang dude. This video really isn't about Leo Atang. It's just about how the industry tries to force certain guys down our throats. And it doesn't work if they don't have the talent, right? You don't have to force Moses Atama on anybody, because I'm not saying pause because I'm 33 years old. I'm too old for that shit. But they keep trying to force these guys on us who have zero talent, zero ability, who look like any dude you would see at a regular boxing gym here in the US or in the UK. Like, he's not that good. Just because he's handsome, he looks the part. He looks the part, no homo. He looks the part. I just said no homo. Y'all, screw this. But he looks the part, for sure. But he has no ability. He's throwing wild, cuffing punches. He actually got deducted, which I thought was a bit harsh by the referee. But the reason why the referee's thinking he's deliberately throwing on the back of the head is because instead of turning the punch over on the knuckle and landing on the side of the head, on the ear, right behind the ear, on the temple, all these are legal. This is legal. This is legal. This is legal. This is illegal. And that's because he's not turning his punches over, right? He's throwing these cuffing, looping shots, looking for that big shot, which to me shows he doesn't understand lines, trajectories, all of these things that are important, which are how you develop that IQ. You know, again, say what you want about AJ. AJ was knocking these kind of dudes out. That's facts. AJ was getting rid of these guys in style, right? Someone like a Kevin Johnson, like this Leo Atang guy would get schooled by Kevin Johnson. Pat Brown would get schooled by Kevin Johnson. You need ability, right? So it just goes to show that this game, it's all about who gets the push and who doesn't. Most of these guys aren't that good. You know, you have the guys like AJ who, again, are like catching lightning in a bottle, right? He's got the pedigree, he's got the look, he knows how to carry himself, how to speak in public, and he's also got the fighting ability. AJ had the ability, right? He was good enough. Was he the best? No. I'll be the first one to say that. He wasn't the best, but he was good enough. This guy, Leo Atang, Richard Riakporhe, Pat Brown, these guys aren't good. They're just getting the promotional push. It's all about being at the right place at the right time, you know? And then you have guys like Caballero who have to toil away in obscurity, the triple G's of the world have to toil away in obscurity. And it sucks for them as fighters because they never get paid until they're old as dirt. Terrence Crawford, another example, right, of a guy that the industry says, you're not marketable, you're not somebody that we can control, you're not someone who is going to be Mr. Politically correct and say all the right things and say what we tell you to say, right? That's what they want. They want somebody who's going to be a good boy and say what they want to say. And that's what I see in this Leo Atang. He's going to say all the right things. He's going to be like AJ was, where AJ was like super media trained, super politically correct. oh, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to say anything, right? But the difference is this kid's going to get found out. I give it 4 or 5 fights before he gets knocked out. He's just not that good, right? You have to have the ability. And that's where I think Eddie Hearn gets it wrong, is he focuses way more on the personality and the look and the aesthetic of the fighter rather than their ability. Frank Warren is looking for dogs, and that's why he's got all the heavyweights. He's looking for dogs. Some of them will pay off, some of them won't. Some of them will be slow burns. They'll be long-term investments, right? Everybody's not going to be the next AJ. Eddie Hearn is desperate to find the next AJ, especially since Conor Benn, screwed him over and went to, the Trump bootlicker and Dana White. So we'll see, but I'm not impressed with this new crop of prospects coming out of the UK outside of Moses. Moses to me is an anomaly, and he's someone you don't have to force on the public, because not only does he have this kind of naturally confident aura, like where you just like, yo, he's him, he's that guy, right? He also is just being himself. And to me, that's way more marketable than someone who is media trained, someone you can take on Oprah or the Today Show or Morning Joe, or what is the show called in the UK? Like Good Morning London, the one that Piers Morgan walked off of a few years ago. All those shows, where you got to say the right thing, you got to speak in these kind of media trained sort of, where you say a whole lot without saying anything. You're well practiced in tossing a word salad, if you will. I'll say pause after that. You know what I mean? Again, Moses to me seems like a guy that's like, yo, I'm me. I'm gonna go in the ring. I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna get paid, and we're gonna leave it at that. But that's me speaking as a hardcore fan. That's what I want to see more than anything, is authenticity, and not fake authenticity like Tyson Fury, who, oh, I'm a man of the people. I don't care about money, but then you demand $100 million to fight the best guys. We don't want to see that shit either. We want to see real guys. We want to see real fighters who are just real people. And that's something I think Eddie Hearn is missing. We want to see real fighters who are real people, not the guy you think will look good in an Under Armour commercial or a Nike commercial. We want the guy who's got all the goods and he's just himself. That's why people love Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is just himself. He's crazy. He came from a rough background, but he's a tough dude. He could fight, and he gave us a show. Again, Mike Tyson will be bowling this guy over. Like, Eddie Hearn is too focused on trying to recreate the AJ magic instead of actually looking for legit fighters. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm out. Peace.